Um,
Guys, we're just gonna start talking and chatting, and in the comments, if you want to let us know if you are watching and you can see us, that's great.
and if you can
Otherwise, we're
hear
just
us,
gonna
more
like,
importantly.
I mean, who doesn't want to see your face, Cameron? Everybody wants to see your face,
I
right?
mean, yeah, obviously, right?
Okay,
Awesome, cool. It sounds like everybody can hear us, which is perfect. That's exactly what we'd like to hear.
we definitely,
Me and Amanda want to be heard loud and clear.
yeah, we're like that. So this is actually a really good time to talk about what do you do when things don't
Yeah,
go the way you expect them to? So
absolutely.
obviously, this happens not just at events, but it happens for YouTube broadcasts too. And
Yeah,
the tips for handling both are really pretty much the same. And the first and most important tip is to just take a deep breath,
yeah.
because getting that oxygen into your brain is not only going to help you calm down, it's going to help you think more clearly too. So try
Hmm.
not to panic. I mean, even if you have like 100 something people watching you while you have no audio, so you're just kind of pantomiming, what's the, it's, you know what? If you keep breathing, you can get through that. And then you can start to troubleshoot and problem solve. I
Yeah,
find it's a really good idea to be as transparent as possible with the people that need to know about what's going on. You know, let them
absolutely.
know, hey, listen, we've run into an unexpected issue, but we're
And
working
it
on fixing it.
happens. And it totally
And people
happens.
understand that.
Yeah, it's technology. Everybody has run into something at one way, one at some point
You got
in
this.
their, yeah. Even I'm having technical difficulties. But
It's,
no, everybody's run into it before. And
yep.
at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter how much you practice. As you can imagine, we obviously practiced for this, right? But at the end of the day, things can happen. Technology can decide to have a brain and a mind of its own. And so it
And
is
that's
important to just take everything
breathe
calmly, breathe,
and
and move
pack your
forward.
backup kit. So having the backup kit, right, in
Yeah,
situations like this, super
absolutely.
helpful. I mean, it might not help if your audio actually just goes out, but it can help with other things. And I do want to get back to talking a little bit more about that while we do have the time.
Sure.
So, right now, it is important that we all bring our masks where you need to, and having a spare mask packed as well is always a good idea. For one thing, uh, if somebody maybe accidentally spill something on your mask. It could be you. You could be,
Hmm.
I mean, some people are just born spillers, okay? If you spill something on your mask or something else happens, maybe you take it off for a second and it falls on the ground. Having a backup mask is just trust me, it's a good idea. Always something good to keep in your back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing that is really good to have is water. Obviously, we talked about staying
Hmm.
hydrated. And we also talked about bad breath. And one of the things that I hear from you guys, especially on Facebook, a lot is to bring gum or mints, because
Hmm.
even if you are wearing a mask, you don't want to have the bad breath like backed up into your own
Hmm.
face. Nobody wants the stinky breath. So
Absolutely.
definitely make sure that you pack your gum and your mints, or, whatever your preference
Hmm.
is for that. I actually know a
Yeah.
lot of people that pack an entire toothbrush and toothpaste,
I
which
mean,
is
honestly,
commitment.
if it's like an all day event and you're gonna be there
It's a
and you're
good
gonna be
idea.
eating, it's not a bad idea for sure.
Okay, we're hearing that the regular stream is about ready to go. So we're going to transition you guys over to Jamie. We're going to give it another shot. We
Hmm.
really appreciate you guys sticking with us through this. And listen, if we do have problems again, we're not going anywhere. So if you
We'll keep
can,
trying.
stick with us, okay?
You won't get rid of us this easy, guys. So you might
That
see us
we
again.
know. We love you guys.
Awesome. Talk to you guys soon.
Hey everybody, it's us. We're back. Let us know if you can hear us, please. And thank you everyone for your patience. Obviously, streaming a virtual conference comes with a little bit of tech. And sometimes where there is tech issues. But I do still have Jamie here. Jamie, you're still here, right?
I'm still here.
Amazing. Let us know if you guys can hear both Jamie and I, and we will dive into all the juicy, juicy tips on networking.
Yeah.
Fingers. Amazing.
Yes.
All right. I am just going to stay in this stream right now with Jamie because that's the best way that this is going to work.
That's
So
like
Jamie,
the only way it's going to work, apparently.
only way it's going to work. But without further ado, Jamie, I am going to let you take it away, but I will be here the whole time.
Sure. Tell you what, sorry, I'm getting a little kickback on audio on my end. Trying to figure out if I can turn that off real fast. Okay. I'm going to use a joke that I've already used 4 times. Okay. It sucks to be the person that broke the live stream, but you didn't hear me the other times that I said it, so I get to say it again. It's great.
She did say it, but it's still funny.
But it still slaps, right?
It still slaps.
So we're going to talk about networking. And I know for a lot of people, that's like the same equivalent of like going to the dentist. You don't want to do it, you know, like it's like you have to do it for the overall health and wellness of your business and growth and, you know, getting all the plaque off your teeth. It doesn't sound appealing. So what I want to do is I want to kind of do a run through of like why it's important to go to the dentist. No, just kidding. I want to talk about why it's important, why networking is so valuable. And then we're going to talk about the traditional version of networking and why more often than not, it actually kind of fails. And how a modern version of networking could actually bring a lot more health and wellness to your business and maybe cleaner teeth. I don't know. I think we're going to run with that analogy the whole time. So
love it.
You know, let's go with it. So I'm going to be honest. I stole all of the benefits of networking from Forbes because they're smarter than I am. And I know it's good and I know it's important. But I figured their words would be so much better than mine when it came to describing why this is good, why we should be doing this. Because we all know you should be networking. You should put yourself out there. You should connect, you know, go to a mixer and wear a pencil skirt and pass out your business card. It's important. Why? Well, one, it makes you noticeable. If people don't see you, if they don't talk to you, then they don't notice you. Or the likelihood of that really decreases. So when you stand out both in your expertise and the services that you offer, it creates room for partnership, which in turn will build your career. Secondly, it's an avenue for new opportunities. You know, if you shake a new hand, meet a new person, connect with a new company, it's an avenue for new opportunities. That could be a game changer for your business and your pocketbook, which, side note, I never use the word pocketbook in normal conversation, only in like a talk. Does anyone use the word pocketbook? Because I totally don't, except for right now. The third thing it does is it improves your creativity, your knowledge base, and it gives you a veritable like cornucopia of resources. You only know what you know. So if you connect with other people that know more stuff than you do, guess what? You are now a greater asset to your own clients and to your future clients. You can be inspired by others. Why learn the hard way when someone else has already gone through and can share their experiences with you? You don't have to have the answer. You can point to somebody who does. All in all, it makes you look like a boss. Like all of these networking opportunities make you look like a boss. It gives you support from larger businesses or bigger accounts, helps you to grow your status and grow your self-confidence. But most importantly, it helps you to develop real, intentional relationships that last and will continue to support you as you grow. Now, traditional networking, it's not for me, okay? Like, it's fine. It gets the job done. But I don't know if this ever happened to any of you guys. Did anybody's dad ever make them call the pizza order in? Do you know what I'm talking about? The first time your dad's like, why don't you call the pizza place? And me as an 8-year-old, I'm like, I didn't want to. It was uncomfortable. It's something I needed to do to like get comfortable on the phone. Maybe a very obscure representation of that feeling. But that's me at networking events where I'm just like, oh, but if I don't call, I don't get pizza. And so I should probably go and I should probably network, but I really don't want to. Just shockwaves throughout my entire body, my entire soul. That's what like networking, everything that people think of in those settings, that's what they think of. And I'll never forget the first one that I went to, and you can bet your bottom dollar I did not go alone. One of my dear friends is a wedding videographer, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't. I'm like, no, you're going with me. We're not doing this solo. I'm not getting stuck in the corner. And I did the proper networking thing. I passed out cards. I hummed and nodded painstakingly through the entire evening, and a handful of relatively boring conversations, but I had some good ones as well. Traditionally, this has been networking. You wear business casual, sip on a glass of Chardonnay, and then check your watch every 7 minutes until it's like an acceptable time to leave. I don't want to call the pizza place. I don't want to get paper cuts from slinging business cards to complete strangers. I would rather hang out with my friend that I know than go out and really push myself to all these new people. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. The silver lining is we can't even do that right now. And all the introverts in the world just go, yay! But we still need to be networking to survive and to thrive. So how do we do that? So I'm going to return back to my videographer example. Who's going to give me more business? The videographer that I have a lasting relationship with, or the person that I just met and spent 20 minutes with at a networking event? Probably the person that I've cultivated a longer relationship with, right? A photographer that I've worked with before, a venue that I've worked at 3 times. They're highly more likely to refer me or introduce me or connect me with potential clients than someone who's like, I think I have a business card for some wedding planner I saw at something once. That's likely not going to happen. People do business with people. Relationships will get you further than acquaintances. Which is so true. Like, I would rather work with one of my best friends than work with a complete stranger. I mean, I may end up liking them, but my preference is going to be the path that I know, the person whose integrity I enjoy, whose artwork, whose photography, whose DJ skills are super bomb. Like, I'm going to want to work with them over a brand new person because I know what I'm getting out of that. And you're like, great, Jamie, that's awesome. Cool. Networking. We got to do it. We get the point. How do we do that right now? Like, there is no in-person stuff, or we don't want to go. Okay, like pencil skirts are not a thing. They're not great for people. So here's how we do it. We move it digitally. We take all of that connection, we take that desire to build relationships and take it beyond that surface level, but we do it digitally. Let's talk about Instagram. We all know how hard it is to grow a following on Instagram and to get all the right engagement and get likes and get people to join or make comments. We know how hard that is. So why aren't we hyping each other up? Why aren't we commenting on each other's posts? Like, this is so good. Or this lighting, you killed it, friend. You're doing incredible. Or I really like that dress. More than just like a handful of chaotic emojis that we're just tossing up there for the algorithm, but actually connecting, commenting on them a lot and often. Yes, also, even if you don't know them, just show up. Just say stuff. We all know how hard it is. So why don't we support each other while we're struggling through it? The next thing that you can do is you can connect in DMs. Hey, I really like what you're doing and what you're about. Insert intentional compliment here. Like your use of lighting and shape. I don't know photography terms, but imagine I did and I used an effective compliment at that moment. And then just said, keep up the good work. Or, when possible, I'd love to connect. I'd love to work an event together. Feel them out. And in a way, this can kind of feel like cold calling. It can kind of feel like passing out a business card at an event. But it is the first step to creating that relationship. And then, maybe you get to the point where you're sharing funny memes back and forth. You're sending ideas back and forth or being like, hey, this totally reminded me of you. And then the third thing that you can do is you can share their work, talk about their posts, or put their posts on your stories, or talk about why you like them. It's such a great way to advertise who they are and why you think that they'd be a good resource for your clients. So we're still doing all that traditional networking stuff, but we're now doing it so tactfully and in such a tangible way for so many of our followers to just click on their handle and go to their page. You do the same thing on TikTok. You can be somebody's hype man and comment on things and like everything that they do. You can connect with them directly if you've already set up that friendship there. You can duet what they're doing and hype it up. You can share it on your stories. You're really just kind of basically turning into a Stan account for all of your favorite vendors. Like really putting them out there. Same exact thing in Facebook groups. Comment, engage, because networking isn't just exchanging business cards. At least effective networking isn't. It's actively cultivating the relationships that you have, as well as the actions you do with and for each other. I mean, we've all had those jobs where you walk in and you see who's on the shift and you're like, yes, this is today's going to be so exciting. I know this day is going to be so fun. Why not try to create those same exact environments on a wedding day and really surround yourself and work with people that you enjoy? That's also the result of effective networking. Not to mention there's a couple bonus things out of this. You get free content. I like to call myself a content creator because I think the word influencer is a little cringe, TBH. And anytime that I don't have to create something from scratch, but it also provides a service for my subscribers, for my followers, I'm like, boom, someone else just did the work for me. And it's helping them. Like, talk about a win-win. And you get the opportunity to show more of who you are, your personality, as you talk about this person. That allows potential clients to really engage with you. And the added bonus, again, if you are commenting on a photographer's Instagram often and consistently, and you can see a fun relationship between the two of you, if a potential client's like, okay, I need to hire a planner, who do I go with? They're going to go with the person whose name they've seen before, whose voice they've heard before, whose witty banter they've engaged with. They're going to go with the person that showed up. So we can take all of these principles and all of these ideas from what big scale networking looks like. And we can still be drinking the Chardonnay, but we can do it without real pants on, which is great. And we can connect in ways that are intentional and are meaningful. So yeah, I think that basically just go try to make friends. Just make friends. Ignore the old version of what networking looked like and really cultivate actual intentional connections with people that you enjoy spending time with, because the benefits that you get out of this is massive.
Obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. I feel like this goes so hand in hand with community over competition too.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't lose anything by hyping each other up. We only create more success for each other, and then they will do the same for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, well, not to mention you have like this entire support system that's so fun when, you know, if something goes wrong and you need another planner to call on, or you're ill, or a photographer falls out, guess what? You have a buddy you can call.
Yeah. You start to build up this little pool of resources and people to just like pluck from when necessary.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, guys, let's go into Q&A. Did you have anything else to add?
No, should I?
No, you're good. Let's go
like,
into some
I can come up with
Q&A.
a knock-knock joke if we need to.
Well, jokes are always welcome here on the live stream. But if anybody has any questions for Jamie about networking, now is the time. Throw them into the chat, and then Amanda and Cameron are going to relay those over to me. Now, Jamie, I actually have a quick question for you. So where are your top platforms for making those connections? Is it just Instagram? Do you have any more? Where do you go to seek those relationships?
So I personally have used Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook groups. Facebook groups are huge because there's like a track record that you can go back to, or you can go, there's bigger threads. It's easier to read. Instagram is really fun. It's a great way to like share things to stories. TikTok is great to duet. So there's a bunch of different options that I think could be really, really good. It's just how you best communicate. So if you're like, I'm a typer, I don't want my face out there, Facebook groups. If you just want to smile and nod along to someone's really cool video, duet somebody on TikTok. So just whatever fits what you're doing best.
Totally. That makes sense. And just you personally, what do you like to use?
I use YouTube a lot, and the best way that I can connect with people is in the comments. I'm trying to be better about Instagram stories. That is the easiest way of connecting. And a couple of months ago, I started a TikTok account. So yeah, those tend to be where I fall with all those.
Okay, quick question from somebody. So somebody says, I am a tried and true introvert, and I am super nervous about meeting new friends. Do you have any advice? Are you an introvert, Jamie?
No.
I didn't think so, but
no, I'm not.
Do you have any advice for the introverts out there who are feeling, I guess, just a little bit guarded?
Yeah, I would say, is there anyone that you already know? Because like just like the example of the networking event, I was not about to go in there alone. Even though I like people, I still needed someone to kind of hang with. So maybe you start with the people you already know. Like you don't need to be going out there and creating new connections. Start with the people you already know and just comment a little bit more and like their posts a little bit more. Just, you know, bump them up in the algorithm, and then slowly you'll get more comfortable with sharing more, with commenting more, and maybe even reaching out to new people.
Yes. And guys, you guys are all in a chat right now.
Yeah.
Why doesn't everybody comment their Instagram handle and y'all can go follow each other and start hyping each other up? We already have this amazing community established of people, with like-minded goals. Let's start what we know. And then surely enough, I imagine those outside contacts will start to trickle in too. Amazing.
I'm super. I had follow train written down. I was going to wrap up. We should do a follow train. Stole my idea, but it's a good one.
Sorry about it. I do have a question. This is from Annabelle. So she is asking, do you typically give discounts to your networking connections? So any sort of like discount or kickback or anything like that?
I don't. I don't see I personally historically haven't, simply because like you want your friends to succeed and you want them to make what they're owed or what they're worth. So oftentimes, I mean, I've had people offer it before, but I'm like, no, I'm recommending you because of who you are, because the business that you run. If there is going to be any sort of discount, I prefer to pass that on to the clients directly, because then it's just like everyone's thrilled. You can, I'd say you have to be very tactful about it.
Sure.
I personally choose not to, though.
Sure. Yeah. Know your worth too, right?
Yeah.
Is the discount really warranted? Okay, cool. Let's see here. Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
What has been, this is interesting. So this is a kind of a personal question for you.
Yeah.
What has been the most meaningful relationship you have made based off of just networking?
Based off of just networking.
Like someone maybe you met at one of those events, or someone you just met on Instagram that maybe flourished. Is there any example that you have in mind?
Yes, actually, but I made the connection through YouTube, which is obviously not the greatest working space. But I went from not knowing anyone else who had a YouTube channel or did any of these things. And I reached out and DM'd a fellow YouTuber on Instagram, and I was like, like just putting myself out there, being like, in my mind, she's famous. She's just straight up famous. She's not going to reply to her DMs. She's not going to respond to me. And we went on to do a collaboration together, all because I basically cold called her. I was like, hi.
Oh.
And we did a collaboration together. And that little group has now grown to multiple YouTubers that we all kind of talk about and go through things together, stuff with the algorithm, what's working well for us, what's not. Yeah. So it took, which introduced me to her whole audience when we did a collaboration together, which just broadened where my words were getting, if that makes sense. So that's a very real, tangible success story of basically just, and I don't put myself out there like that, but
a little vulnerability can go a really, really long way. And a lot of the magic in life happens outside of our comfort zone. So putting yourself out there can go really far. Let's see. I know I said that would be the last question, but one more, because I think this is really interesting. What do you do if you feel like you're, establishing a relationship with somebody and you feel that the balance is not there? So maybe it's a little unreciprocated, right? Like you're hyping them up, you're trying to like push them, but it's like not really coming back. How do you handle a situation like that?
So it's all about your mindset. I would go into it with, I am doing this without expecting anything in return.
Sure.
And those who return it, you're like, oh, we're starting a little something here. Okay, I'm okay with that. But those who don't reciprocate or don't say, oh, hey, thanks for the share, thanks for the reply to you in the comments. You're like, well, this kind of feels like it's a lost cause before it's even started. Yeah. So I would say, go into it not expecting anything. Like recently, we just started doing TikTok Tuesdays because I love what is that, alliteration? Yeah.
Yes.
Where we're sharing other accounts, but they don't know that we're doing it. We're tagging their Instagram or whatever. But if they're like, thanks for the share, I know it's not going to go anywhere. At that point, my mindset is to provide value for my audience, for the people that are following me. So if you can cultivate something, great. Go into it without expecting that and just hope for the best.
That's such good advice. I absolutely love that. Jamie, thank you so much. Where can people find you on all of the socials if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so this is terrible timing because we're about to go through a rebrand. But currently we are at JW Coordination on Instagram, and Facebook's JW Coordination. If you want to see any of my YouTube stuff, it's just my name, Jamie Wolfer. Got a stockpile of wedding planning videos over there. Oh, and TikTok, we're Wolfer and Co. Just to confuse everyone, because that's the name we're heading towards.
I love it. Jamie, thank you so much. And thank you for all of the bearing with us through the technical difficulties. I am so happy we made it work because I think people definitely needed to hear this topic. So thank you for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We're going to head it back to Amanda, and we'll be right back.
And we're
Hey,
back.
guys.
Did you miss us? That was
I don't
a
think
really
they did.
yeah. That was a really, really good conversation about networking. And that's actually brings me to one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, which kind of has to do with networking. And it's all about white labeling your booth. Obviously, if you are booking multiple events and you maybe are double booked for a day and you don't have another booth yet, I mean, obviously one option is to get another booth, right? But the other option is to find somebody in your area who can work with you and who can white label with you. And when you get those events, you obviously want to close them as quickly as possible. And the most important thing that you can do is really make these relationships with fellow booth owners in your area. Amanda, maybe you can talk us through a little bit about making those relationships. I know Jamie's obviously talked a lot about networking and things like that, but you are kind of the copy queen when it comes to reaching out and writing to people. So, how I think a lot of people kind of get nervous with that. How should I reach out to somebody, or where do I start, especially if it is like a cold email or a cold text? But that's really how a lot of these relationships start.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a great resource for photo booth owners for PBSCO photo booth owners. We have a Facebook group that has members from all over the world, and it's a really great start to get networking. Our community in particular, I'm very proud of because we are such a community over competition minded community.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much easier, especially for new owners who do only have that one booth and maybe don't have a lot of contacts. Their networking is just starting. So it's a very friendly place to reach out to other owners that are in your area that can white label for you. And not just that, but like they can kind of mentor you a little bit too, give you that like inside scoop on your area, because every market is different. I mean, even within the same state or the same region. So having those people that can kind of walk you through that is great. And even if you don't have a PBSCO booth, there are a lot of Facebook groups out there. I can't say that they're all quite as like super nice as ours, but they are all very, very helpful. And whichever group you're in, you're going to be able to network and you're going to find other booth owners. And I think that it's such a great platform for finding out how to white label and how to network because it's casual to begin with. And I think that just makes it a more organic feeling way to start up that kind of relationship.
For sure. And we actually had one question, this is an awesome question from Nessa. She was asking, what is white labeling? Which is a very good point. I should have explained what it is, especially if you're just getting started in the booth industry. You might not know what it is. Yeah. So, sorry. Amanda, do you want to tell us a little bit about what white labeling is? Jeez Louise, my tongue is in a twist.
Okay, you take a breath.
I'm done.
Yeah, just, So white labeling, the name itself kind of gives you an idea of what it is. So a white label is blank, right? Like there's nothing on it. It's just a white blank slate. And what that really means when it comes to booth ownership is that you are taking somebody else's booth or somebody else's company and you're saying, hey, I'd like to work with you and have you represent my company so that we can run this event. I can't make it to this event or for whatever reason you have. So I'd like you to represent my company. And we're just going to white label your company so that it can look like you're part of my company instead. And then you can work out, the contractual arrangements, whatever that will look like for you. But in doing that, you have that flexibility if you aren't available on a certain date, but you don't want to turn down the business, because really we should avoid turning down the business when it's possible. And white labeling really can help you do that, because we don't want you to miss like your kid's wedding for an event. You know what I mean? But we don't want you to have that kind of not nice thing happen where you're like, nope, I'm not available, because you don't want to do that.
You want to be available. I mean, it's an event. It's money, and it makes people
and more than money. It
makes you create a really good reputation for yourself as being that photo booth business that people can rely on, people can reach out to, and really regardless of the date or the time of year, you're probably going to be available, which is always handy. And if we're speaking kind of in the context of like a SALSA user, right? Obviously, we are Photobooth Supply Co, so it's easier for us to speak as Photobooth Supply Co in that regard, but a little bit, maybe a little bit biased, but a lot of photo booths out there are kind of similar in what I'm about to say. And so when we're referring to white labeling, it isn't, it's a lot easier than maybe what it sounds like. You're essentially just borrowing a booth, which is what Amanda said, and you're really making it look like it's yours, right? That it's coming from your brand. But with something like SALSA, it makes it very easy to do because you already have a SALSA account, right? You already have a SALSA booth. So for you can literally just log in with your SALSA login to somebody else's booth, and you don't have to worry about having your event on their account or having any of your photos on their account. You can have it all under yours, even though the booth isn't yours. So that's definitely one of the huge benefits there.
And another benefit that kind of works in thinking with that is that you can set up the event all on your own. You can create the entire thing so that you're sure it's up to your own standards. It has your branding. It's very cohesive and consistent. And then when you do log in to the other booth owner's iPad and booth, or any tablet and booth, no, actually we were just talking about SALSA. So the iPad and booth, it has been a long day. It will be right there, ready and waiting. And the other owner doesn't have to do any of that work either, which is just, it makes it a much more seamless process. For sure. And that's why a lot of people don't mind doing it either, because it is so seamless. It really is so simple and easy to do. And again, Amanda made a really good point. You can have that event ready to go. So you can make it beforehand, even though you don't have that owner's booth. Doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare. Doesn't mean you shouldn't practice. Don't mix up my words. You should. We talked about this, guys. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Don't forget that conversation from earlier. But it will allow you to be completely ready. So without further ado, we're going to give you guys another little break from us. And we're going to transition over to Amber, who is going to introduce our next two speakers, actually. So we will see you guys at the next break. Bye.
All right, everybody. Next up, I have an exciting and juicy topic for you. And this is going to be all about pricing. So I have Sam with me here. Sam helps event pros book more couples with science-backed sales approaches that he has honed over the last 15 years in the wedding industry. He also founded ID Action 4 years ago with his wife, Katie. And since then, their team of 7 has worked one-on-one with nearly 200 clients. So it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Sam Jacobson.
Wow, that was pretty fabulous. Thanks so much for the warm introduction. I appreciate that. And I'm incredibly excited to be here. I was all about coming on and sharing some pricing information. And I asked Brandon initially when he and I chatted, I said, so do I have an hour, 2 hours? How long do I have? And he said, you got 15 minutes. So I'm going to jump right into it. And I'm only going to share the 5 most important tips that I think that you can apply on the next proposal that you send out. There's so much to talk about when it comes to pricing, but I'm going to give you some real tactical takeaways here. So these are based on pricing design do's and don'ts. As Amber mentioned, I've been in the wedding industry for 15 years. I personally sold to over 300 couples for about $10 million in sales. I would absolutely consider myself an event industry sales and pricing expert. This is all I do full time. And I spend most of it doing one-on-one work with wedding pros. I also do online courses and in-person workshops when you can gather. And then our company does copywriting for websites. In addition to that, in my spare time, I study behavioral economics. I'm enrolled in an applied behavioral economics program at Texas A&M University. Like I said, I do this all over the country. These are some podcasts and conferences and educator programs that I have been a part of. And I talk all the time about pricing. So what you're going to get here are my top tips that I know that you can put into practice right away. I want to provide a little bit of context here for you. One of the things that's really important is that the brain processes information through two different routes. One is going to be this fast thinking system, and the other is going to be this slower thinking system. So this fast way of thinking is unconscious, it's automatic, it's effortless. And out of the 35,000 different decisions that you make every day, this is going to account for about 98% of those decisions. This is things like, what way do you walk around the couch? Or if you've been driving for a number of years and you drive a manual transition, you don't even think about things anymore. Blinking, breathing, if something's too hot, or your instinctual reactions. But there's also a lot of decisions that we make in this fast thinking system when we're on autopilot. And what we want to do is we want to keep our potential clients out of the slow thinking way of processing information. So the slow thinking way is deliberate, it's rational and logical, it requires a lot of effort, and it's very controlled. And this is something that everybody's going to use, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that we can create this path of least resistance for the people who are interested in buying our products and services, so that they can stay out of the over analytical and slower way of making decisions. So I'm going to talk to you about different ways that you can design and present your pricing so that you can keep people in the fast way of thinking. So number one, we want to present 3 different options for people. This is really important because it creates a number of different effects that are going to keep people in that autopilot. Number one, it's going to provide a framing effect. It's also going to make it so that there's this what's called a compromise effect, where people want to choose the middle. Now, if you wanted to look at exploring single options for people, I think what you're going to run into is what's called single option aversion. There was a very a cool study that was done about 10 years ago, and there were 3 different groups of people that were interested in buying a DVD player. In the first group of people, they were offered a one type of DVD player, a Sony DVD player, and they were able to choose from just that one. And there was the brand name and the features that were listed out, and then the price. And they had to choose getting it or not. Less than 10% chose to buy the DVD player. Another group was given the same option, but with a different DVD player. And again, name of the company, the features, and then the price, roughly the same price. And they were either to buy it or not. Again, less than 10% of the people chose to buy DVD player. Now, the third group was given the choice between the first DVD player or the second DVD player, and they could compare and contrast them side by side. Again, all the same features, same price point. And out of those people, 2/3 decided to buy one of the 2 DVD players. So when given one option, less than 10% decided to buy one. When given 2 options, 65% or more chose to buy one of the DVD players. So this is just a really vivid example of how impactful it is for you to provide options for people. So we definitely recommend 3. It's a Goldilocks approach. And what you're going to find is that most people are going to stay away from the cheapest version because they don't want to doubt whether or not they're going to get what they want and need. And they're not going to choose the most expensive option as regularly as the other middle one, because they don't believe that they need to splurge or can afford it. So that Goldilocks effect is going to come into play, and you're going to frame people into that middle choice. Okay, here's a second tip. This one, real simple, real straightforward. Limit the number of characters and symbols that you are using when presenting your pricing. I put in here $1,600. This is very easy to see. If you remove the cents and the decimal, and then you eventually remove the comma for 4-digit numbers, and then you remove the dollar sign, what you're left over with is something that has less than half as many characters, and it just looks smaller. So if you're trying to get somebody who's sensitive to their budget to buy one of your photo booths or to rent a photo booth, you want to make sure that you are presenting the pricing in as few characters as you can. All right, here's another simple one. We're going to go through back to our 3 different options here. And I don't know if you can tell, but the font on the numbers is 2 points lower than the font on the main body copy, and about half the size. of what you're seeing on the title font. So this is something that oftentimes when you receive either a template or a pricing guide, but when you go through and you look at it, you're going to see that there's a bigger number there. And what we want to do is we want to stay away from those bigger numbers, especially when relative compared to what's around it. All right, here's another really important thing to consider as you're pricing your information. The column on the left, you can see you have 2000 and 1995. There's been a number of different studies that have been done that show that although it's only $5, the price of 1995 seems considerably lower than 2000. And if you go through and you look at the 3 option version on the right hand side, you can see how much lower the 995 looks than the 2000. Now, what we want to do is we want to use this to our advantage to make people feel like, one, a price is lower, but we also want to make the difference between 2 different numbers appear great. And so in the column on the right option, we actually want to keep it at 2000 so that it looks more expensive to steer people to the 995 option. And this is called the framing effect or asymmetrical effect. So this can be incredibly helpful. And then here's this last piece of information here, the 5th tip that you can take away, and this is charm pricing. So charm pricing is when you end a price on a 9 or a 5. And what we're doing here by ending it on a 9 or a 5 is we're pulling into effect the left digit effect, but we're also getting people who are triggered by a price ending in a 9 or a 5 to recognize something in context to other prices that they see in their daily lives. So prices that end in 9 are typically a discounted or cheap option, and prices that end in 5 are typically seen as a value-based choice. So if you do want to make something that you're offering look cheap, or look like you've discounted it, end it with a 9. If you want it to be a good value, then you can end it with a 5. A kind of a sister interest in staying away from round numbers is that round numbers look like estimates. And when you estimate something, you put out a guess, and it's much more open to negotiation or interpretation. And so people see round numbers as guesses and they think, oh, okay, well, this is clearly up for discussion because it's not precise. So in using a number that ends in not in 00 or even where 000, you create a precision effect, which leads people to not negotiate as much as possible. So here are some different options for you to consider when you're presenting your pricing. There's really great information out there on the psychology of pricing, and it's such a wide and deep topic. There's so much to go into, but I wanted to share these 5 tips that you can put into practice on your next proposal that you send out. Oh, Amber, can you hear me and see me?
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Sam, that is amazing. I can't tell you, as a Photobooth strategist, it's the most common question I get. Every single person asks it. They want to know how to start with pricing. And so many of your tips are just so backed by all of your experience. So I am blown away. We have a couple of questions that I would like to dive into if you're open to it.
Yes, please.
Awesome. So what do you think is the best way to show value when I list my pricing? So what do you think?
So a couple of things. We want to present specific pricing information only after we have an opportunity to identify what it is that our potential client needs. So the best way to show value in pricing is to not present it too early and to make sure that you discover what it is that the buyer needs, but also help them discover what they need. So when you're going through the sales process or the buying experience, you're really guiding them along to try and learn what it is that, what are their issues or concerns, and also what are their biggest desires. And when you get those known, then you can present your services, then you can present your pricing. Now, one of the keys that a lot of pros don't do when they present pricing is tie the features of what they're offering with the benefits that the client receives. So, for instance, if you're offering, an attendant to man the photo booth, you want to make sure that you're letting people know what that attendant is going to do and how they're going to benefit from using the attendant. If you're offering props or costumes for people to wear, talk about what the client is going to get by having those things. If you're offering a printer with unlimited paper that comes with the printer, make sure that you're letting them know what they get by using that. So a lot of times when people present pricing, they just list features in bullet points. You get this, you get this, you get this, or actually I provide this, I provide this, I provide this. And what we want to do is we want to turn this from I provide into so you will receive. So I do this, so you receive that. And you've got to create that context to build that value. Otherwise your price.
Totally. And that's so important too, because I think especially in kind of a little bit more of a niche like photo booths, not everybody understands our jargon. So you can tell someone, oh yeah, I've got a custom overlay for you. And they're like, okay, what is that? What does that mean? So providing the value of, hey, it's custom. I can brand it to you. We can put your name, your wedding date, whatever that looks like. So that's really good. I have some more questions.
Yeah.
First of all, everybody is saying that you are a pricing wizard, so I wanted to pass that forward to you. So that's great. This question's from Barbara. She's asking, do you think pricing should be listed on my site? I always go back and forth on this.
So yes, I do think for a photo booth that listing your starting at price for your entry level package, whatever that is, you should put that on your website. In general, the more you talk about pricing and the earlier you talk about pricing specifics, the fewer inquiries you will get. So I would not recommend creating an entire pricing page. The money is the one thing that's going to scare away your people. And so when you think about the information that you want to share with them, I would not recommend putting pricing in your main navigation, because like a moth to a flame, that's the first place they're going to go, rather than all the other cool things that you want them to know about your photo booth. And if you spend too much time on it, on a whole page, you're going to run out of things really to say. What we want to do is we want to focus on our services, the things that we do for them instead. So what I recommend doing is putting a starting at price on the bottom of your services page or experience page or whatever it is that you call it on your site. And you want to list out all the things that you're going to do for your photo booth user. And then at the bottom of that, you're going to say, and this is where the prices start for that. And then right below the price, and this is really important, you want to create a reassurance, a risk reverser, by putting a testimonial about how great of a value it was, or something that's along the lines of like, we weren't sure if we wanted to splurge on a photo booth, but boy, are we glad we did. It was more popular than the DJ, or whatever it was, right? Like something that shows how valuable it was to the experience. And then you can put a call to action where it says, click here to get more specifics.
Totally. Yeah. De-risking is so important. And I want to go back to this because Kat actually talked about this earlier today, talking about her pricing, where she puts her starting at rate. What do you think is the importance of putting the starting at rate?
As compared to say like average or range?
As compared to say like not putting anything at all. Like if we didn't list any pricing, we maybe just had a contact form. Why is it good to put starting at?
If you want to create a bit of a barrier to entry, then that's going to be a good way to do it. Again, the less you talk about pricing and the less you share early on, especially specifics, the more inquiries you're going to get. So if you are ready to go for more inquiries, you have nothing else going on, and you're like, boom, open the floodgates, take pricing off of your site and just make it as easy as possible for people to acquire. However, what typically happens is that you get hit with a bunch of people that are in the early stage of decision making. And because prices for photo booths have no absolute value in the world of normal people, they don't know how much a photo booth should cost.
Sure.
And so what they're doing early on in the decision making process is they're using the context of what they're seeing in different places. So they're checking you out compared to other people to get a general ballpark sense of how much photo booths could cost or should cost or do cost.
Right.
And so by having that starting at price there, you're letting them know, hey, here's what it costs to get in the door. And if you can afford that, or if that's okay and comfortable for you, then come on in. So it's not a necessity, but unless you're really hurting for inquiries, I think that putting a starting at price on the site is going to be good for you and good for the couple.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of weed out those people who are looking for $200 for 5 hours of service, something like that. You can send those people to Groupon.
Yeah, exactly. And I because I think that there's a market for everybody, but if you're getting hit over and over and over again with people who are coming up with half the budget that you charge for your starting at price, you got to solve that problem. That's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we got one more question. This question is, if I don't want to include my packages, should my start at price be low or medium? So if we're not including packages on our website, should our starting at price be as low as we can charge? Should it be somewhere in the middle? What do you recommend?
I recommend doing something that is going to be appropriate for your lowest viable option. So whatever it is that you think you can do to provide the consistency and maintain brand integrity for experience and quality of product for your particular couples or corporate clients or whomever it is, you want to make sure that that is the lowest price that you're listing, and that is your starting at price. We don't want to go super low, like, I don't know, like a half hour or an hour or whatever it is, something that you would rarely do, because what will happen is that if you're consistently coming in at your entry level package and it's double or triple what your published starting at prices on your website, people are going to feel like they got taken advantage of, like there was a bait and switch. So you don't want to go so low that people feel like you are starting to get a little bit skeezy when it comes to your sales approach. But you also don't want to go like so high or mention your average price, because what will happen is that you'll end up scaring away people who are probably able to pay for that, but yet don't know what the value of what you offer is. And so they haven't equated that. And so you need a little bit of time to help guide them to understand what that value looks like. So we don't want to go so low that that people feel tricked, and you don't want to go so high that people feel like they can't afford it.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, Sam, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for giving all of that incredible info. Again, guys, I hope you were taking notes. That was like a brilliant sales seminar. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're going to head back over to Amanda and Cameron.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
And we are back.
Hey, guys.
Did you miss us?
Yes. You ask that every time, and I've decided to make the answer yes.
The answer is always yes. Yeah, I agree. So this time, instead of giving you guys, sorry, I think I took your thunder. Instead of giving you guys an information overload, because there has been a ton of really amazing information, and it's not over. Like it's still coming. Up next is going to be a very, very interesting and very information-packed speech. So instead of talking so much about knowledge and things that are related to that, we're just going to have fun for a little bit, right? So,
not that knowledge isn't also
knowledge
fun,
is fun. Don't get me wrong.
but this is a little lighter.
Yeah,
this is a little.
Our
lighter.
brains need a rest.
We want to find out. We want to find out from you guys, what's your favorite kind of event to run? Think about it for a second. I think most of you guys probably do have some kind of preference. I hear from people, oh, I love weddings, and then other people are like, weddings are the worst. I really just.
Yeah.
So think about it. I can tell you that my favorite kind of event are the ones that are usually, how do I say this politely? The ones with fewer kids at them, because then I don't really have to worry about them knocking over the booth or even just like spilling the juice on it. You know what I mean? Like I always get extra nervous about having kids at an event. So typically, I definitely prefer events where I know that kids will either be fewer in number, or at the very least, they will have like a lot of attention given to them, so that I don't have to do that. What about you, Cameron?
Last break, you were telling me that I couldn't be mean to you because you're a mom, and now you're telling me that you don't want any kids around. You
Listen,
gotta pick your side, Amanda. You can't keep flip
I
flopping. Caught you off guard, didn't I?
I love my child, but that does not necessarily mean that I want to bring him to work with me.
No,
You know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely. No, I would have to say, I think my favorite types of events, I really like corporate events. I think corporate events are really fun because you can have there's so many different types of corporate events, right? Because it could be ranging from a brand activation to something
Yeah.
like an internal corporate party. So there's so many different options there. And it's fun. Corporate clients are usually pretty easy to work with.
We're hearing
But-
from some people. Bridget Myers loves kids. So Bridget, like you
I do
got
as
to get in
well.
touch with me so that I can find out how maybe you have better management skills for that. Maybe you know something that I don't know. I'd love to hear about it. Mardi Gras balls. That's cool. I haven't ever done that. They're not, I don't know. Maybe I just don't live in an area where there are a lot of Mardi Gras parties, but that sounds really fun. What else? Yeah. Yeah, it was a solid
Halloween
turn.
parties, drop-off
Christmas
booths,
parties. Yep. Drop-off booths are great.
corporate events. Yeah, those are all really good. Somebody said too that they've been doing a lot of baby showers. Baby showers are fun, especially if you do one that's been a really cool thing, and I've talked about this actually in my onboarding. So if you've been in one recently, having like if you have a gender reveal party and being able to have a couple different colors for the overlays and letting people guess and interact with the event that way. Honestly, any event that you can interact using the booth. So when you change up the overlay, Super Bowl parties are another really good one, assuming you're with like a 50-50 group. If everybody's going for one team, you're kind of stuck. But
Super Bowl survey comes really like in handy for that.
Yeah, between the survey and having multiple designs on the overlays, there's so much you can do with it. Election parties, I mean, those ones can get kind of messy, but
yeah. I'm going to go ahead and stay away from election parties. I feel like that's going to end up with a trash booth, even more so than an event with kids might.
Could be.
Don't do it, guys. Just don't do it.
Awesome. Well, now we are going to transition you guys over to our next two speakers. It is going to actually, I'll let them introduce themselves. I'll keep it a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of some suspense for you guys.
Hey, everybody at the Booth Summit. It is me, Brian, from Photobooth Supply Co, and I'm happy to be here with Bill. And as we all know, 2020 forced us all into a digital world, working remotely, FaceTiming with our family and friends, and virtual events. But 2021 is here, and in-person events are coming back, and people are eager to get out there, be with one another, and printing is one of those ways to celebrate that togetherness with a physical, tangible memory that you can walk away with. And I have Bill Varenkamp here from Imaging Spectrum to answer a few questions about printing and all things printers so that your event doesn't get stuck in a jam, or if it does, at least you'll know how to fix it. So Bill, welcome, and how you doing?
Hey, good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. So tell us about yourself and your role at Imaging Spectrum, and maybe a history of your printing.
Okay. Well, I photographed my 30 years ago. I've been a professional photographer for a really long time. Not the crappy SX70 integral ones, but and then in '95, I actually was able to beta test a Sony system, a dice sub printer that cost $7,000, and it only print 8x10s. So I've been doing this a really long time. So I bought my wife and I built our first photo booth 11 years ago. So I've had a photo booth for 11 years. And I've printed all that time. I like printing because I like printing. So, and I've been with Imaging Spectrum now for just over 10 years. But I was with a different company before that and another company before that. So again, I've been doing this a long time. But I'm director of technical operations or head of tech support or whatever the name of my title is. But what I do sales also. And I think that I can answer the question. I've used all of the printers that we sell at one time or another in my booth, simply because I like to be able to give my honest opinion about, the printers, because I've used them all. But yeah, I take a lot of tech calls. I speak at a lot of conventions and blog posts and everything else on, having to do with printing. So
well, that's fantastic. Yeah, congratulations on that 10-year anniversary. And before I jump into the questions about printing, what is your favorite printer that you've used? Either one that is out now or maybe an obsolete one. What's one you've loved the most?
Gotcha. I mean, as far as obsolete ones, I will tell you the Sony UPDR 150 was a really excellent printer. It did not cut 2 2x6s. It only did 4x6, 5x7, and 6. Characters that ever came out. My first printer that I owned and used in a photo booth was the Shinko S2145, and it was a really big printer, really heavy. Since then, I've gone to the DNP DS40 and currently have the DNP 620s. I really like the 620. My wife likes the 620 compared to the 40 because it's about 6 pounds lighter and about 2 inches more narrow, so it's a little easier to heft. I love the prints on it. They look great. The printer's great. Quality's great. And since the printer came out, they've actually come out with this really awesome new metallic media. Let me see if I have one around here. Yeah, this is from Photobooth Expo a couple of years ago, and this silver color behind us is actually the paper itself, and that's really only. I mean, they do have it now for the DS40, but that's 620 only, so it's not available for the RX1 or anything like that. You can also do with the site video. You need to really could do that with the 620.
Yeah, the 620 is certainly one of the tried and true printers, and with your history of printers and and your love of them, I know that when everything goes to plan, printing can feel like magic. But when it doesn't, it feels like an impossibly complex machine with infinitely moving parts, paper jams, ripped ink ribbons, devices not connecting, error lights upon error lights. So for everyone who's watching, and everyone who's a photo booth owner, what are some of the most common mistakes with printers, be it with transporting, setting them up, or just using printers in general?
Gotcha. I'm going to tell you that probably 75% of my phone calls are related to issues that stem from transporting your printer with paper and ribbon in the printer. No dye sublimation printer ever has been supposed to be transported with paper and ribbon in the printer. It can damage the internal mechanisms of the printer. There's just no other two ways about it. They're just to let you know, dye sub printers, the vast majority of them in the world are in kiosks. They're not transported. So that's why there's not a big sticker on the top of the box that you have to cut when you open it the first time that says, don't transport with paper and ribbon in the printer, because the majority of them aren't used that way. But, I just can't stress that enough. Take paper and ribbon out of the DS1. And they mean it. It's not just, and they don't mean shipping, it's transportation. So that includes your car. Now, if you're carrying it from room to room, no. But if you're putting it in a vehicle, because just to let you know, it's that vibration of the vehicle that damages the printer. So it doesn't matter if you have it in a ATA case or a bag or a Pelican case or anything like that. It doesn't matter. It's the vibrations of the vehicle that do it. And just to let you know what happens when you, and I always like to say it's kind of like not wearing a seatbelt when you're in a car. Most of the time it's fine, but that one time that it's not, it's a safety thing. So when you leave the paper in the printer, all printers, when you load that paper, it either beeps or a light flashes or a light comes on, like with a leave your image, that sensor, and the next time you go to load paper, it just won't load because you don't know where to stop. So that's one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is the ribbon can bang into the print head, and it doesn't really damage the print head. It doesn't cause lines in the prints, but what it causes is you can either have paper jams or ribbon snaps. It's one of those two things. When I say a paper jam, I mean literally, we call it accordion paper. So when you look at it, it has like ridges in it from jamming up like that. And again, the ribbon it'll either stick to the paper and like melt to the paper, or it'll just break the ribbon. And again, those are usually caused by transporting the paper and ribbon in the printer. So just don't do it. And just a little tech, tidbit here. It is okay to it in a car, but you have the paper out, because remember, it knocks out the load sensor. So as long as that paper is not in the feed, it won't damage the sensor. Now, if you're going to ship it or put it on a plane, because you're not constantly controlling the printer, you don't know what they're going to do with it. So do take it out for shipping or for airplanes. But if you're just putting it in your car, you can leave it in, but back it out, but take that ribbon out. So. Yeah,
and that's a question that people will ask when that device is provided. Well, one question is that, well, how do you transport this? The paper seems pretty simple, but sometimes the ink ribbon, you might feel like it's too sensitive, or you don't want to touch it with your fingers. But what's the best way to package that back up so you can take it with you?
I have a ribbon here on my desk, but just to let you know, always is a take-up spool and a supply spool on all dye sublimation ribbon. So the supply spool, what the best thing you can do is wind used ribbon onto the supply side, and then when you grab it with your hands, it doesn't put fingerprints on the unused ribbon. So then take it out and just put it whatever. You can put it back in the packaging that it came in. You can put it in a Ziploc bag. Some people, like some printers, like the 620, it comes in a ribbon holder, and some people will actually get like a little tub, and they'll take the whole ribbon cassette out and put it in the plastic tub to transport it. I personally don't, because I don't want that much big of a box, another big box to have to carry around. So I don't, but certainly feel free to if that's the way you use the DS40, the 620. Those all have ribbon carriers. The RX one does not, and some of them don't, some of them do. So.
All right. Well, that's great. A great help and great advice. Certainly, transporting it with the media in there is not going to be the best choice when transporting it, and you have to get it from event to event. And I know it can be sometimes tedious to get it in, get it out with all the media, but always better to be safe than sorry. Printers have been around for quite some time, and photo booth printers indeed. But nowadays, iPad photo booths are becoming more and more popular. Shout out to SALSA. And with that comes the need for wireless printing. The best photo printers on the market have wireless printing built in, but or rather they don't have that built in. So a lot of photo booth owners are having to look into solutions like AirPrint dongles and other kinds of network printing. What are some tips that you can share in terms of AirPrint dongles and the common troubleshooting steps that one might run into when getting that kind of printing set up?
Gotcha. one other thing I forgot to mention is don't forget to dump your shards out of your printer also when you move.
Yeah,
I did have someone bring
definitely.
a printer
Yeah, you
in
definitely
and
want to
dumped the
clear.
shards in and it broke the cutter. So
Yeah,
just to let you know.
clear out
But to answer your other
your
question,
scrap trays. Yeah.
yeah, clear out those shards. Um, as far as wireless devices, five that have been years, they've always had a little dongle that they recommend that seems to work pretty well wirelessly, and it's only about a $10 little dongle. It's not expensive, and if you go to the Imaging Spectrum website, go to the High-T 525 page, and there's a link right to it. So if you do have a High-T 520 or 525 and looking to go wireless, it's cheap to do with that one because it has kind of not really a built-in capability, but they did find a device that works well with it. As far as other printers, man, so there's been a device called the Airkanov, and it's been around for a little bit, and it seems to have been a fairly successful device. However, I went looking for it 2 days ago, and the it was under construction. So I don't know the capabilities or the availability right now of the Airkanov, and it did work with all of the printers. Now, DMP for several years had a wireless device that was boxed about this big, and it's called the wireless print server. And that's been gone for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. It was kind of a pain in the neck. It didn't work really well. But in the last year, with all the COVID and everything, they had this at PBX in 2020. But they do have a new device called the Wireless Connect module. And this has been pretty good. Now, this only works with DNP printers, and it does work with all the DNP printers, DS40, 620, RX1, and the new little cube. So this does work with them. It comes with a USB cable, comes with you have to connect it USB to your printer. You do have the power supply in it, so don't forget to make room for that. So in this has been working fairly well. And again, it is a dedicated device to the DNP printers, where the Airkanov kind of works with all of them. So.
Yeah, that wireless connect module by DMP is certainly shown to be a pretty handy device. Small, compact. Again, the one caveat, of course, is that it only connects to DMP printers, but you often find that they have some of the better printers on the market, or at least some of the more popular ones. So if some people who might be, part of PBSCO from the early days, they have their legacy Photobooths with their either DS40 or the 620. They can just use that and transition to wireless printing. And there is often sometimes a learning curve with that, but DMP has some fantastic customer support for the printers particularly. And if you need support for SALSA, you know where to find us at support at photoboothsupplyco.com. And are there there are other options as well that are kind of similar to that, but definitely you had the WCM and the Aircast Pro was, I think, another option that is around that has some compatibilities with other printers, but those are some of the great options for that. Now, the saying usually goes that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And while nobody can be like 100% prepared for everything, what are some of the most important or overlooked items that everyone should make sure to bring with them to an event when it comes to printing?
Gotcha. Excellent question. So just to let you know, I say that a lot. I apologize if my wife was here; she'd be mocking me. So it is better to have two $10 USB cables than one $20 USB cable. Don't worry about all the gold tips and the fancy stuff. Just get more than one. I have I usually have about 3 or 4 of them with me when I go into the location to set up. But I also have a big blue tub in the car that is just full of every cable and everything that you can imagine. So your cable is your weakest link. So always have it. Even if you have to leave some in the car, get your cables. If by chance you ever need to have your, like a Windows, let's say you're sending it to the server on the Windows and you need to have the printer further away, just let you know, I did it again. USB cables can only go about 15 feet before the signal starts to fail. So there's these little devices, and this is called a repeater, and these are only about $16. They're pretty cheap, but this little repeater on the end will push the signal, and you can go 80 feet with one of these repeaters with your, with the printer from the computer to the printer. So that is something you may want to look at, and those just come from pccables.com. They've got 2 different ones. They have a lower level one. This is the higher level one, and again, they'll go up to 80 feet with the signal with the repeat. Also, hub, for whatever reason, if you have any kind of device like a camera or a printer on that hub, it needs to be a powered hub, and they're about $30, $35 for a decent powered hub. And powered meaning it has an AC connector, and that helps push the signal. Because if you have printers or a camera or both plugged into one of those, $5, $10 USB ports that have, multiple ports but no power, you'll likely lose the signal, and it'll lose the printer. So, and that's very, very frustrating when you're at an event. Also have more than one power cable. They almost never fail because they're so thick. But what if, extension cables, the usual. And just to let you know something about the new DNP 410. It's also that DNP has run tests, and they do have a battery that they recommend for it. So if you do need to be at an event where there's just no power available, there's no extension cords available, there's no generators available, you can run the cube off of a battery. And I don't have the information on that battery, and I do not remember how much it costs. I forgot to look that up. But anyway, just something to know about the DNP cube.
Yeah, no, that was actually going to be my next question, which was because a lot of folks ask about what's the best battery pack to have for a printer, and printers can be a very heavy power drain or draw, and so you have to get something that's powerful enough. On average, with some of the bigger ones like the 620, maybe the RX1, what is like the average power draw that someone would need to have in consideration when looking for a printer? And this is a very technical question right off the noggin. So if you don't have the answer, I would not blame you. But what's something you would suggest?
You cut out a little bit, so I'm not sure if you asked about battery or something or some other power source. As far as I know, there's not a easily buyable battery that can power a 620 or an RX1 or something for an entire 3-hour event. I think you'd need 2 batteries. And I do not know what those batteries are, because it's not something that DNP recommends, but it's something that I've read people have used and it worked. However, DNP does have a battery for the cube that they recommend. And if anyone wants to send me an email to bill@imagingspectrum.com, I know I have that email, so I know I can find it. So if you want to know, just let me know.
Yeah, that would be great.
Really would recommend getting a generator. The Honda 2000 series generators, they're about $1,000, but you can also rent them usually for about $100. And there's another one that people recommend, and it's actually a house brand of one of the, I wish I could remember the name of that company, but there's another generator that people recommend that you can buy at a it's not really a hardware store, but it's kind of that kind of tool type of location. I can't believe I can't think of the name of it, but I know the Honda 2000 series were, because I've used them before. But I will give you a little hint, a little tip. Make sure you have gasoline for it. My wife and I did an event about 10 years ago, and it was not a photo booth, because we also do events. So this was about 1,000 people at this event, and they had us hire 14 photographers to had all these different setups and everything. We had 3 print stations going to 2 printers each. And they wheeled in on a trailer a generator, and we were going along and everything was great, and it wasn't our responsibility. It wasn't our generator, but someone forgot to put gas into the generator and it shut off. Now, fortunately, we had UPS battery backups on all of our systems, so we were able to turn everything off safely. And that's another tip. If you're at a building that's like 100 years old, or outside, or on a generator, I highly recommend getting a good UPS battery backup. The good ones are about $100, like APC or Cyber Power. Your printer suddenly stops while printing, it's kind of like putting your car in a park while driving. It's really not good for it. So again, if you're going to be in a location with questionable power, I highly recommend a UPS, just in case. So.
Yeah, and I might be incorrect on this, but just so everyone who's watching knows, like a UPS is not necessarily a battery that you would run the entire event on, but it's something that prevents kind of like short, inconsistent losses of power. So not everything is having to reset over again.
Yeah, it's known as a universal uninterruptible power supply, or a battery backup. And I've got one on my floor here, but I can't really show it to you. But good ones are about this big. So, and again, they'll run your power long enough to turn everything off safely. Like to delete let it finish, turn down the computer safely. It has that much power, but not enough to run an event. So.
All right. Well, thank you for those answering those questions. And we have actually a few questions from the audience. So we'll try to field some of those. We have Annabelle Sintas, who asks, what printer do you recommend that is both user-friendly and has a reasonable printing cost?
Gotcha. I mean, I will tell you, hands down, the most popular printer in all of the photo booth industry right now is the D&P RX1HS. It's about $500, prints 4x6 or 2x6s, and it will cut them in about 12 seconds. It costs an excellent printer. It's got great reputation, just a really good printer. There's also the 620 from D&P. And I kind of use this analogy when I'm talking about the two of them. Toyota makes Lexus, all made in the same factory. Well, D&P's technically they're made by Citizen, but think of the 620 as the Lexus and the RX1 as the Toyota. Both are going to get you from point A to point B. Just one's a little bit faster and a little bit better quality, but nothing wrong with the Toyota. So. There's also the Sinfonia CS2 is one of the smaller printers on the market. The Haiti is a pretty good sized printer. Not really bigger than the RX1, but another one to think about, especially if you're looking for an inexpensive dongle, because that dongle is only about 10. To be there or bad news, because real soon it's been talked about on Photo Booth Network and Photo Booth community, but Mitsubishi is getting out of the printer business. For any of y'all that don't know that, so I can't. There's still printers available, and there's going to be media available for a while and drivers, but whatever printers are built now, that's it. So just to let everyone know, and I'm not being rude and not mentioning Mitsubishi, it's just kind of a fact about them. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't expect us to have a kind of a breaking news kind of segment here, but it's pretty interesting to hear if so. But it sounds like, yeah, the RX-1 is probably a nice go-to option for getting those decent prints. And Toyota's a fantastic car company, and I imagine the RX-1 would be just the same. Another question we have is from Vanessa Grossman asking, can someone purchase the styrofoam or the kind of material that comes with it for the protectors that come with each printer? Are those things that you can usually purchase secondhand or as replacements?
Are you talking about the foam pad for the head, or are you talking about the one that packs the printer?
I believe it's the one that packs the printer. It sounds like that's what the question might be.
I mean, here's my advice. The box only lasts so long. What I recommend doing is keep all your printer boxes, because if you do ever need to send it back for warranty work or for repairs, you really want the original box for that. My advice would be some other brands of cases, or Imaging Spectrum. We sell a printer bag. It's called the Billy bag, and it is named after me, although I hate the name Billy. But anyway, it's $129, but it'll fit in like an RX-1 and 2 rolls of paper and 2 ribbons in there and cables. And anyway, it's got an inch of foam pad all the way around it. So if you're looking to get something to transport, again, look at a wheel case, or look at the Billy bag from Imaging Spectrum or something like that to transport it. I wouldn't try to keep toting it around in the box. So.
Fair enough. Another question. This one comes from Courtney Tane. When you have events, do you leave the booth by itself, or do you hire attendants to stay the entire event? I presume this is, in relation to, the printer and everything.
Gotcha. I mean, here's what my wife and I do. Because she and I can divide and conquer if we need to do separate events or white label them. But since day one, our very first wedding in November of 2009 that had a photo booth, our first photo booth at that gig, we were shooting the wedding, but the photo booth was right there, so we could keep an eye on it and everything. So we do not leave our booth unattended. We always either are there, or we hire someone to be there, or we white label it out to someone, and that's just personal. We just don't want to have our booth unattended. So.
Fair enough. And one last question we have here is, this one, depending on if you make a commission off of selling photo booths, it might change your answer. But Rob asks, they've been told that always have at least 2 printers at every event as a backup. Is this something that you would recommend?
Well, that's an excellent question. Just to let you know, in the 39 years that I've shot weddings, I've always had at least 2 cameras and 2 flashes. And back in the day, twice as much film as I could ever shoot. And even now when I shoot a wedding, we usually have like 4 cameras with us and about 5 flashes and more cards than we could possibly fill up. I mean, these are mechanical electronic devices. They can fail. We always have 2 printers. And just one other thing to bear in mind, every ribbon, all of them, inside one of the ends has an RFID chip in it. And that RFID chip communicates with the printer and says, hey, I'm a 4x6 ribbon. And then as you print, it goes -1, -1. That's why you can take a ribbon and put it in any printer and it knows how much is left. It's because of that RFID chip in the ribbon. I will tell you, those RFID chips can fail. It happens very, very, very rarely. But if you have one open ribbon and you have one unopened ribbon, and your open ribbon runs out and you put the one ribbon into the printer, and it's got a bad RFID, you're out of luck until Monday when you can call the manufacturer and get it replaced. So I always have at least one open ribbon and at least two unopened ribbons. And if I have one open and one unopened in our billy bag, I have a whole case in the car too. So sometimes I have 3 unopened and 1 open ones, just because. And I've never, but I get those phone calls about it, and so I know it can't happen. Again, it's pretty rare, and really don't. Yeah, if you have that happen, just call the manufacturer, because they do warranty their ribbons. So don't throw them away. I've gotten calls from people that said their employees threw it away when it didn't work. Oh my God! So or when a ribbon breaks, they throw it away. And just to let you know, if a ribbon breaks and it's because of power failure or power issue, you can tape those things up and roll it onto the unused portion, and it's fine. You know, all ribbons have a black label, have a black line in between it. So there's a sensor in there that looks for that black line, so it knows when it begins and ends. So don't worry about taping it up and rolling it. It's fine for it. So
yeah, that is definitely one of the hidden secrets when it comes to ribbons, is that you can always just use a good old Scotch tape to put it back together again, and it doesn't need to be thrown out, saving you time and money and frustration. But I want to thank you, Bill, so much for joining us here at Booth Summit. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. If people want to reach out to you to ask you about printers and imaging spectrum, what's a good place for them to speak with you?
yeah, it's bill@imagingspectrum.com or tech support at imagingspectrum.com, or you can call me. Here's my number.
There it is. All right, everyone, screenshot. You get personal access to Bill for all of your printing inquiries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not my direct number, but press 2. That gets to me. So.
All right. So press 2 for Bill, and we're going to press 1 for Amanda and Cameron now. Again, thank you so much, Bill. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope everybody else out there has a great rest of Booth Summit. Take care.
You got a sneak peek, guys, at the next speakers, but that is okay. we will transition into them, but that's just a sneak peek to make sure you guys are all paying attention. So awesome talk from Brian and Bill, all about printing. I know printing is it's a hugely requested feature of Photobooths, but it's also
Huge.
One of the most complicated. It can be the easiest thing, and it can be the most complicated thing. So getting a lot of answers to those questions, it's always really nice to hear. So
Absolutely.
Continuing on with the theme of our favorites, Amanda, tell me all about your favorite feature that you're most excited about in 2021. And I swear, if you steal mine, we're going to have a problem.
My favorite feature are the custom buttons. Sorry, the custom buttons for Virtual Booth when you go to start the capture, and you can change them now so that you have them be completely customized. You can have them be any language that you want them to be. What's yours, Cameron?
It's interesting that you bring that up, because that's actually my favorite too. But in all seriousness, I really do like the custom buttons and the custom interface overall. Me and Kat have talked about it a lot on our live streams, which kind of a little bit of a plug here. Yeah. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so. This sounds super YouTubery, but really
like and subscribe.
It does help. And anytime we are live streaming in the future, although it won't be, a Booth Summit necessarily, you'll get notified. So turn on that little bell and get notified, and you can can see us back up and live. But yeah, no, it's a really great feature, and we talked about it earlier in the day about hybrid events and how hybrid events are going to definitely play a huge role moving forward, post-COVID, and even when the world is post-COVID, and we've hopefully all forgotten that this has happened. And it just allows you to customize that virtual experience so much with a video background. Amanda said it best with the different languages.
Yeah, I think anytime you can offer a customization option, what you're really doing is you're strengthening that connection with your guests. And
Hmm.
whatever you can do to make it feel like they really were thought of and considered and included in that event, that's
Hmm.
going to make it more memorable. And
Yeah.
people love that. And they're going to want to come back to you so that they can remember the next event that they have. And they're
Yeah.
just, it's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, with that said, after Amanda stole my idea, we will be transitioning over to the two that you had a little sneak peek at before. I will let Amber introduce, well, I was going to say introduce both of them, but we all know who Amber is at this point. So I'll let
Also,
Amber introduce our next guest. See you guys soon.
he stole mine.
Awesome. As always, Amanda and Cameron, so obsessed with you. Thank you guys. Guys, I am so excited. We have our very last presenter for the day, but certainly not the least. I am so thrilled to introduce C2, who is going to be talking a little bit about his entrepreneurial journey. So C2, take it away.
Awesome. Okay. So actually, I'm the least because I've heard those presentations and they were pretty good today. So it's okay. I'll take it. I'm the least. It's all right. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. Okay. So you can actually go ahead with the presentation because I'll get to talk about myself as it starts. Yep. Good. Awesome. Okay. So folks, you might not recognize me here, but this is actually me. This is how I looked in 2014. I know I don't look too happy. What can I say? But in 2014, I was running 3 different businesses. I had started them in 2011, 2012, and 2013. And in 2014, for some reason, I was burned out and I didn't have any motivation. I didn't want to keep going. So I felt stuck. Okay. I felt stuck. And to unstuck myself, what I decided to do is to look at everything my competitors were doing. What kind of products were they selling? What kind of service did they have? And I tried to assimilate those into the service that I was offering. And what that did is it created a product that I had that wasn't mine anymore. It became the product of my competitors. So to sell that, I had to try to figure out what kind of target markets they had so I could sell this product that was supposed to be mine, but wasn't mine anymore. So I did that for a few months, and then I realized, wait a minute, there's a problem. I can't keep going like this. And the inevitable happened. I failed. I failed in every single one of those businesses. And the reason why I failed is not because I didn't have any sales. No, I was selling the product. The reason I failed is because I didn't have a why. I did not have a why. I didn't know why I was in business anymore. So in hindsight, I went back and I realized that what I had is WDD. Now you must be wondering, what in the world is WDD, right? WDD is nothing. I just made that up myself. It's the why deficiency disorder, okay? And it's a disorder that you have when your business does not have a why. See, every single business has 4 pillars. The what, which is the service that you offer. In this particular case, you'll be Photobooth. The why is the reason you do what you do. The who is your target market. Those are the people you sell to. And then the how is actually how you actually operate in your business. Okay. So we already know the what. The what is super easy. So today, what I'm going to do is talk about 3 things. I'm going to talk about the why, the who, and the how. Folks, you already know my name, but my name is C2 Biakataria. And just like you, I have a photo booth business. I've been doing this for 6 years. And I cover most of the state of Florida and the city of Dallas. And I've been successful, at least I think I've been successful. I've been able to purchase 2 of my competitors. But the reason why I think I'm successful is not because I have a product that is superior. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's the reason why I'm doing fine is because I know why I'm in business, which is the complete opposite to 10 years ago when I started my very first business. And when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, I realized that they have the same problem that I had 10 years ago. They start with this way. They have a beautiful machine. They have a beautiful product. It's a great idea. They go into business and they assume because the business is good and because the product is amazing, they're going to sell. Well, not necessarily, because you don't know why you're in business. So what we're going to do today is talk about the why. I'm going to explain what the why is, and I'm going to help you formulate your why. And we're also going to use that same why to find your who, the target market, and your how, which will tell you how you need to operate in your business. So let's look at the why a little bit. Okay, the why is a statement by which your business lives. And the way I put it, I like to think about it is I think about it, the why as the fuel to your business. So if your business is a car, it has different parts. The why is a fuel, and without the why, you can't do anything. Okay, so how do you find your why? I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to show you an example, and we're going to look at this example, and we're going to deconstruct this example, and we're going to use that example to formulate your why. Okay, so let's explain. So here is a why: to provide all the necessary resources to my clients so that they can feel confident and know they will become the most successful photo booth owners on the planet. Now, this why might not feel familiar to you, but I promise you, you know whose company is why this is. Okay, but before I tell you whose company it is, let's look at how we can use this why, work backward, and build your own why. Okay, so here we go. Step one: what do you dream of? What is your goal? Now, this goal doesn't have to be anything for business oriented. It can be a personal goal. Okay, you can tell me, hey, my goal is to make enough money so I can make sure my child go to college debt free. That's fine. That's your goal. That's your dream. But I want you to use that goal and I want you to use that goal and apply it to your business. So let me give you an example, okay, on how to do that. Let's say you say, okay, fine, I'm going to build a business in this particular, we're going to use this example, okay? And I want everybody who comes to me to be successful. Every single client that I have, I want them to be successful. So in this particular case, this company decided to build a business that will do just that, okay? And they said, we will build a company so that every single client that comes to me feel confident that they will become the most successful photo booth owners on the planet. There you go. That's one part of your why. That's the thing you dream of. That's your goal for your business, okay? Then we're going to build the second part of your why. This is it. What will you do to reach that goal? In this particular case, this company decided they will provide all the necessary resources to the client. Now, let me tell you who this company is. This might not be the why, but it's pretty close if you were to ask me. I think this is Photobooth Supply Co's why. And here's why I think that, right? They started a few years ago with a photo booth. Then they eventually added backdrops. Then they started a YouTube channel. And now they're even doing a virtual booth, right? So you can see the evolution. You can see that every single thing that they do is to make sure the clients are successful, okay? And every single decision they make comes to this. So this why that they have is a statement that they live by that answers every single question in the business. And I want your why to be the same. So here's the formula for the why, okay? To do something so that you can get a certain result. That result being your goal, that result being your dream, okay? This formula is not my formula. It's a guy called Simon Sinek who came up with it. And he actually wrote 2 books on the why. One is called, and I think the other one is just called The Why. So if a guy was able to write 2 whole books on the why, it tells you how important this thing is, okay? So let's look at that example again, okay? To provide the necessary resources to my clients so they can feel confident and know they'll become the most successful photo booth owners on the planet. That's why they live by. And this statement, I promise you, answers every single question that they will have in the business. And to prove that to you, we're going to build the who, which is the third pillar, okay? So let's look at the who. So what is the who? The who is your target market. Now that's it's a very vague statement. I get it. Because eventually when you build your target market, it doesn't talk about the persona and things like that, but that's okay. At this point, we just want something very high level that you can work with. You have to understand one thing. When you're in the photo booth business, and you probably heard this today, right? Most of us want to sell high. That's what we want to do. So guess what? Our target market is everybody who can afford to pay a lot of money. But guess what? That's not true. There are a lot of people out there that want a photo booth, but I don't have the means to pay for a high price, pay the high price. So you have to understand that because you're in the photo booth business doesn't mean you have to necessarily sell expensive. You can sell cheap. That's totally fine. That's your choice. No one's gonna hate you for that as long as that's what you believe in, right? So let's find the who using a why statement. Okay. So here's a why statement. This is actually SheetBooth's why statement. This is our statement. Provide a high quality and seamless experience to my clients so that they can worry about everything else but themselves. Oh, sorry, about everything else but me, and feel confident the guests are well taken care of. To provide a high quality and seamless experience to my clients so that they can worry about everything else but me, and feel confident the guests are well taken care of. So how did I come up with this why? I started with something very personal. When I shop for something, I don't like being bothered. I want to buy it, I want to trust it, and I want to move forward. That's it. So I figured if this is who I am more than likely going to relate to people that are the same way, right? So I use that. I use my personal, I use who I am to build my why, and then my why ended up giving me the answer to my who. It's that simple. My who is everybody whose pain points I address. My who is something that fulfill the dream of my clients. And my client's dream is literally this. They don't want to be bothered by the photo booth. They just want something to show up. They want to have fun and they want me to get out. That's it, right? So when I get a phone call and someone says, hey, C2, I'm looking for a photo booth for June 21st and I need to know your prices. Sure, I'm going to send you an email with my prices, or I'll tell you my prices right off the bat. Or I can get another phone call, completely different phone call that says, hey, C2, I need you June 21st in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I just want to know if you can make it. Now, I don't know if you see the difference between these two inquiries. One asked for price, the other one did not. The person who didn't ask for the price it doesn't mean he doesn't care about the price. Not at all. All it means is the price is secondary. The main pain point is the experience. They want to make sure someone will show up. They want to make sure they won't have to worry about it. And they want to make sure their guests are going to have a good time. So just like that, we found the who. So technically there's no step two. It's that easy. You can actually find your target market that easily, but you won't be able to do that unless you have a why. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. My wife is in business at the moment. And when she started, she had an idea of a product and then she started doing it right away. She went hard. And then she started selling and things were going great. She was having a good time doing it. And then she hit a wall. And she hit a wall because she never established why she was in business. Now, you can blame me because I didn't tell her that, but if you're married, you know you don't want to say anything to your wife when she decides to do something, just let her do it. So I didn't tell anything to my wife, so she hit that wall because she never had her why. So now she had to go back, figure out why she was in business so that she can find the right who that would buy her product. Okay, so just like that, now we have a target market. Now we know our why, we know our who, we need our fourth pillar, which is the how, right? And the how are all the things that you do to ensure your target market needs are met. Okay, and in my particular case, it goes this way. I want to provide a high quality and seamless experience to my clients. Now, what does that mean, right? And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to give you the answers to those questions, just so you can understand a little bit of what I mean by provide a high quality and seamless experience to my clients. Let's say you need to buy some paper for your printer. You have two choices, generic, DNB, for example, okay? The generic is probably cheaper than the DNB paper. Which one do you buy? Do you buy the generic one or do you buy the DNB one? You have to ask yourself which one is going to last, which one provides a better quality picture. And then based on that, you make your choice. So you see again, I didn't look at pricing when I was deciding what paper to buy. I looked at my why, and then my why gave me the answer to what I needed to do. Let's look at the website, for example. You're about to build a website. What do? Do you pay someone to build your website, or do you wing it yourself? Well, it depends. If you tell me, hey, listen, I'm just doing an affordable photo booth, I just want people to come, pay me $200, go to the photo booth and go service them and be done. That's fine. I get it. In that particular case, you don't need to spend a lot of money on a photo booth because you're not offering a high level experience. Same thing with the props. Do you buy the expensive props or do you buy the cheap props? Same thing with the backdrop. Do you buy cheap backdrop or do you buy expensive backdrop, right? And the how, the why will answer those questions. The how, the why will answer my who, and it also answer my how I do business, right? So I'm going to end with another story. That's not me. That's you. That's you because you've spent the whole day today learning a whole bunch of stuff. You learn a lot of hows, a whole bunch of hows. Now I want you to take some time and figure out your why. And when you figure out your why, figure out your who. Okay? And then go out there. Go out there and build a service that is your service. Don't go on Instagram. Don't stalk your competitors. Don't try to understand why they have more followers than you do. It does not matter because they have a reason why they run the business the way they do. So look at what you want for yourself. Build a business that will be good to your own standard. And please be successful to your standard and no one else's standard. Again, my name is C2. I wish you luck and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I can hear you. We can hear you. I can hear you.
How about now? Is that better? That's my apologies. I muted myself.
Yes.
Don't worry, false alarm. Like I was saying, though, thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. If you have some time, I'd love to go into a little bit of Q&A. We'll answer some questions from the audience. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So this is actually a question that's really interesting to me because something that we do here at Photobooth Supply Co. when people start out is we always ask them what's their goal. And typically their goal is somewhere along the lines of, oh, I want to provide an amazing experience, da, da, da. And then we, kind of tell them, hey, let's change that and make that about you. And then they have a million goals. They have maybe 5 goals. How do you identify maybe which goal is maybe the most important in this sort of a journey? How would you narrow that down?
Okay, so the first thing you have to realize is you can have, it's okay to have multiple goals. And it's okay for them to change as well. So you don't have to assign yourself one goal and stick with it the whole lifespan of your business. You don't have to. What you need to do is write it down. First thing, do it. Write them down on a piece of paper and rank them. Ask yourself a question. Which one can I live without? That's the first question you want to ask yourself. Which one can I live without? Okay. And then when you find that one, get rid of it. Then we have to admit one thing. We're all in business for money, right? In the end, we have to generate money. So you have to ask yourself, which dream can I keep on this? Can I get rid of that will not hurt my bottom line? Okay? How can I not hurt my bottom line? So let's say, for example, right? I say, okay, I'm a photo booth owner, and you know what? I want to do corporate clients, and I want to have a whole bunch of brides, but I don't want to do it all at the same time. I want to be able to focus on brides, then I want to be able to focus on corporate clients, then I want to be able to have 100% of my people coming from Instagram. I want to be a killer on Instagram. I want to kill it on Instagram, big time. The question I'm going to ask you is simple as this. Do you know how to kill it on Instagram? If you don't, if you're not sure how you achieve that, to reach that goal, then you probably don't want to worry about it now because you're not going to make money. It's much simpler for you to go to a wedding show or to call venues around town, or it's easier for you to pay someone to build your website and be done with it and hope that you get a lot of clients based on SEO, right? So you have to go by process of elimination. But you have to be really honest to yourself. And I think the biggest issue with the why is we tend to lie to ourselves. We saw something somewhere that looks glamorous, right? And I have people, and I actually have someone that I'm talking to at the moment that says, well, Situ, you do all these great things. You know, you have a photo, you have a bar page, and you have a slow motion, and then you do this. And I've seen you in Nashville, and I've seen you were in this, and the list goes on and the list goes on. And I say, okay, slow down, slow down, slow down. You looking at me from the outside, you have no idea what I deal with, right? It might be glamorous, but do you really know what it means? Are you capable? Are you able to travel to Nashville? Do you have kids? Do you have 3 kids? If you do have 3 kids, do you have a husband who can stay with the kids behind, right? So when you ask me, hey, Situ, you've done all these things, and I'll tell you, well, hold on a second. I used to travel a lot 2 years ago. Now I have 2 bambinos. I don't travel as much, right? So while things look glamorous, you have to ask yourself, 1, can I actually do them? 2, is it something that I really want to do? So don't lie to yourself. I think it boils down to this. The answer to the best answer to the question is, do not lie to yourself. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And in the end, I want you to understand one thing. If you decided to do the photo booth business because you looked at other people and you thought it was a cool idea, it doesn't mean you have to stay in photo booth business. I know this conference is not about this. This conference is about being in business and being successful. But in the end, being in business, you have to be happy with what you do. So if you stay in photo booth business just because it looks good, tell yourself the truth. And if you cannot find a way to be in business, then take your losses and find your truth and move on to something else. Totally. That's just being honest.
Totally. Having a little heart-to-heart with yourself, really.
Exactly. That's what it boils down to. And that's what the why is about. That's why it's so complicated, because it's not concrete. It's just something that's not there, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, a couple more questions.
Yes.
So I've got one from Courtney. She's asking, does he recommend being more personable or relatable, or just being all about the business at hand?
Both.
Yeah, right?
both. There's no one, it's not one or the other. It's both. And what you have to do, and we're going to get, I don't want to get too technical here, but you have to be able to analyze your customers, right? So on my website, for example, I ask a question, and I think the question goes like this. Tell me what your event is about, and tell me about your cat or your dog, or something like this, right? Next time I get an answer, and the answer goes this way. Oh my God, I have 3 dogs, and the name is this and this and this and this and this, and they do this and they do this and that. So I'm like, okay, I get it. This is someone that I need to be personable with, right? This person wants to talk. So guess what? In that particular case, I'll be personable.
Yep.
And in another case, I got an email that says, hey, we have a conference in Miami. It's from May 21st to May 23rd. And we want to use your photo booth. Are you available? Thank you. Okay.
Cut and dry.
Exactly. I can be personable, but not too much, because that person is going straight to the point.
Yep.
Right? So there's actually a whole study out there, and I'm not an expert in this, but there's a study out there that helps you analyze people just by the emails. And I think there's a tool out there that can help you do that. I can't remember the name. I think it's Mixmax, if I'm not mistaken. But if I can look back, I can look at it and get back to you, Courtney, if you want. But there's things out there that can help you figure out when you need to be personable and when you need to get to the chase. But overall, you have to be both. You have to be both. Sure. And if you have to choose one, Courtney, I'll say be personable, because people like doing business with people they like. If they don't like you because you're too personable, well, you know what? It's okay. It's just not your target market. You don't have to worry about that, and that's it. So again, be who you have to be, and then the right clients will come your way.
Absolutely. Yeah. People buy from people, not businesses.
Yeah,
and so be yourself, be your true authentic self. I think that's great advice. Both are important. And I think that comes with experience too, sort of the ability to kind of read people and see where they're at.
It does. It does. Yes.
Okay. Another good question from Michael. Does C2 get into having his photo booths share photos via text message or email?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. Just share photos via text message or email.
I do. I share my photos via text message and email. I usually have it enabled by default.
Yeah.
Some clients don't care about it. Some do. But yeah, I do have it enabled by default. Now, I think one person talked about contract and talked about how you use that. Michael, I don't know if you listened to that, but in my particular case, I do not use the data that I collect. I
Okay.
just don't do it. I don't want to deal with it.
Sure.
So, but yes, we definitely offer that to every single one of our clients.
Awesome. Another question here. So the entrepreneur's journey can often be really taxing. What are your best tips to stay motivated when things get tough? I know this is a weighted question, especially after a year like 2020, right? Like there's so much to this and everyone's going to be different. But I guess for you personally, C2, you know, you've been doing this for years. What helps get you sort of back into the swing of things?
Go back to the beginning. Go back to the root. Always go back to the beginning. Don't forget why you started doing photo booth, right? And in photo booth, honestly, for photo booth, it's kind of easy. It's kind of easy because most of the people we deal with are people that are happy. It's a birthday, it's a wedding, it's always a party, so people are always happy, right? So when you get to that point, go back to your root, but add a very important element to it. Ask yourself, why is it that I'm actually tired? Right? And it can be as easy as, I don't like answering emails. I love doing photo booth, but I don't like answering emails. And I'm going to give you a very silly example. When about 3 years into my business, I started getting tired, exhausted, burned out. And so what I did is look at every single step in my processes, and I tried to understand the parts that frustrated me. Yeah. And I found that it was two things. Crazy. It was two things. One was designing the frames for my client, personalizing the frame. I mean, I know how to use Photoshop, kind of, but I had to teach myself how to do Photoshop. So I'm not a designer. So I had to do that. And that was exhausting me. So I've realized that every single time I was getting to that point, it was always taking me a little longer. So guess what I did? I found someone that designed the stuff for me. Right now, that means it's less profit. That's okay, but you have to realize this is long term. So you cut into your profit so that you can focus on things that you enjoy. And then the second thing that I realized that I didn't enjoy was emailing the client, the gallery, right after the event was done. I don't know why, but for some reason, when I was done Saturday and Sunday, Monday, the last thing I wanted to do is send them the emails. I just hated it. So I had to figure out something to make that work. So what I did is this. I wrote a few templates. I said templates for an event, template for a planner, template for a bride, template for a mother of the bride, template for an event coordinator. So I built all these templates, and I did the same thing for a birthday, for a wedding, and for a corporate event. So I have all these templates ready to go. And then all I have to do on Monday is click, paste, click, paste, click, paste. Yes. Just like that, I'm much less stressed. So when you hit that wall, when you're exhausted, there's not one thing that'll get you back on track. You have to take a break, look at your processes. And if you don't have processes, please, you have to have processes. I live by processes. So make sure you have your processes. Go through every single one of them. And none of them is small. Trust me, even if you have to drive from your house to your storage unit to grab your booth, that is a process. That's part of the process. So you have to write that down. And then only when you have all this list, then you'll be able to pinpoint the one that is killing you, and you figure out how to deal with that one. That's the only way you're going to be able to deal with it.
Totally. So yeah, identifying the root cause of whatever that dissatisfaction is first, and then we can work to figure out how to solve it. Oh, so good. Okay, one last question, C2, because obviously the entrepreneur's journey never really ends. Like, it's constantly going, right? So what is next for you? What do you have to look forward to this year? What's going on over at Chic Booth? What can we expect to see from you in 2021?
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit of a downer here, but you're not going to expect anything from Chic Booth. Honestly, I'll just be honest.
Your business, I guess, maybe is a better question. You know, are you busy the rest of this year? What's going on?
So I decided that in 2021, I was going to put Chic Booth on a complete autopilot.
Oh, nice.
And I have my in place. So literally what I'm doing, the only piece that I'm missing now is to hire someone full-time to be able to do everything that I do. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I found myself doing that again. But most of my time now is I'm actually building a business, a consulting business. And I am, and my goal is to help startups and entrepreneurs get going. I don't want to deal with large companies. I want to help entrepreneurs. Yeah. And the reason I want to do that is because I didn't get that opportunity and I wasted a lot of years of my life. Well, I didn't waste them because I learned a lot.
Yes.
But if I can share my experience with other entrepreneurs, then I will gladly do that. So now I'm working on a new business. Funny enough, I actually met a girl from the last virtual booth. Mm-hmm. And then I've been having calls with her and helping her along the way. So yeah, that's my next thing. Help people like you, entrepreneurs, be successful with anything. I've made so many mistakes along the way. So there's one thing that I know for sure is that I don't know it all. Yeah. But I know the mistakes that I've made, and I know I'm not going to make them again. So if you can pick my brain, if you can learn from me, do that. That way you don't have to make the same mistake and you can be much successful much faster.
Perfect. Amazing. C2, if people want to find you on social media, where should they look? Where can they find you?
Yeah, my handle is CHICBOOTH, but you know what? Let me give you my phone number.
Okay.
Let me give you my phone number instead. You can call me, you can text me. If you call and I don't answer, I'm probably changing some diapers, so you want to text me. But I'm going to give you my number. So it's 904-343-0935. So that's 904-343-0935. Shoot me a text, give me a call, and let's talk and see how I can help you.
It does not get any more intimate than that. That is his phone number, everybody. So C2, thank you so much for joining us. It's always such a pleasure. Guys, we're going to throw it back to Amanda and Cameron one more time, and then we're going to wrap up the whole day.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you so much for that amazing speech. And that is really what is wrapping it up for the end of the day. But before we let Amber do some closing words and closing thoughts on the first day of Booth Summit 2021, it is time for the prizes. So
we always love to celebrate by letting our audience get some, fun prizes. So if you are interested in winning one of the prizes, I have a question for you. You might have to guess at this one, okay, guys? So hang in there with me.
Guesses are accepted.
Tomorrow, well, no, they've got to go one way or the other on this one, okay?
All right.
Tomorrow, Cameron and I are going to be doing a special competition, and I need you guys in the comments to vote Team Cameron or Team Amanda. Let us know which side you guys are on, and we'll be picking prize winners based on whose team you choose. And you should know that Cameron and I do not pick the winners. So
yeah, it's not us. So
it will not be
any bias. If I see your name, I'll probably get rid of it. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And I would never do that because I am fair and honest. So Team Amanda.
So for the next, we'll give you guys 5 minutes here. Anybody who's tuning in, if maybe you're in your kitchen and you're making yourself a drink like me and Amanda are about to be doing in 10 minutes, get back to your computer. It's time to vote. Team Amanda or Team Cameron.
Absolutely.
Wow, lots of Team Amanda. Ouch. Ooh.
I mean, oh, look, you got one.
Yay.
Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. I know we had a couple of rough spots, but we really appreciate that you guys were patient and understanding and kind. And we hope that you enjoyed our antics. And we really hope you enjoyed our speakers because they're amazing. I learn so much every year, and I've been doing this for a while, and it's still amazing to me that I can still learn so much from all of these amazing people.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And while everybody's putting in their vote, we will be back tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to get in on all of the speakers and talks for tomorrow, definitely be sure to be here. It'll be on our YouTube channel just the same. So feel free to, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It sounds so YouTubery every time I say it. I'll never get over it. But really subscribe to the channel. Follow, subscribe, like, hit the bell. But when you hit the bell, you really will be notified tomorrow once we are live. And we'd love to see you tomorrow. And there are more prizes tomorrow. So you really
there are always prizes. And it's not just the prize of having our company, I promise. They're actual real prizes.
They're actual real prizes.
And just to remind you guys too, I saw this a lot in the comments. This is recorded, so we will be sending out the recording of all of the speakers to you guys. No worries. You can watch it again and again and again. We don't judge.
Perfect. Well, we will be passing over we'll be passing this on to Amber, and we will have her wrap up.
We'll reach out to the prize winners.
And we'll be reaching out to the prize winners. Well, actually, I think Amber might be announcing them. I'm not sure. We'll let Amber tell us what she's doing.
Yeah, Amber, it's on you.
Yeah.
We love you, girl.
On over to Amber.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, as always, Amanda and Cameron. Guys, how great were they to have just like in between speakers? I think they are so, so great. So thank you, Amanda and Cameron, for all of your entertainment tips and the like. Guys, that is a wrap on day one of Booth Summit. I am so stoked. I hope you guys are just overflowing with knowledge because that was 8 amazing speakers. So we appreciate you being here and all of your patience with any technical difficulties. Now we've learned a lot. So just to recap, we learned a lot about closing our bookings and proposals. We learned about Pinterest. We learned about contracts, networking, pandemic events, and so much more. So the nice thing about conferences is we get to come in and we get to learn so much from people who are out there doing it. But this is just the beginning. So really where the conferences come in handy is out there in the real world. So learning a ton is obviously amazing. That's our goal for you guys. But the next step is for you to actually go out there and begin actioning it. So look over all of your notes tonight, kind of review the things that you learned. And I would love to challenge everybody to set 3 action items for themselves. So 3 things that you are going to do. You're going to pick one thing that you can start implementing in your business today. You're going to pick one more thing that you can implement into your business this week. And then you can pick one more thing to implement into your business this month. I want you to come prepared with those 3 things tomorrow. Think about it because really where the magic happens from these conferences is in the action. So let's get planning. I am encouraging everyone to go home and get some, or you're actually probably already at home. Regardless, get some rest tonight, get some good sleep, and we are going to be back tomorrow with another jam-packed day full of amazing speakers, Q&A, and tomorrow is when we are going to be doing all of our prizes. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow.